Section: Introduction. In this section, we delve into the challenges posed by the large scale of transformer-based large language models, LLMs, which contain billions of parameters, making it complex to interpret their behavior post-training. Each layer in a pre-trained transformer follows the same structure as the other layers, differing only in their position in the hierarchy and parameter values. To simplify understanding the middle layers of a transformer, we draw an analogy to an assembly line of painters. The input, like a canvas, moves through a series of painters specializing in different elements like birds or wheels. Each painter decides whether to add strokes to the painting or pass it along using residual connections. Despite the order changes or parallel strokes, the painters share a common vocabulary for interpreting paintings, allowing flexibility in their arrangement without significant issues. This analogy serves as a thinking tool rather than a strict theory to comprehend transformer layers. Building on this analogy, we conduct experiments to explore various hypotheses. Our study aims to address key questions such as whether layers utilize the same representation space, the necessity of all layers, the uniform functionality of middle layers, the impact of layer order, the feasibility of running layers in parallel, the task-dependent significance of layer order, the benefits of looping for parallelized layers, and the least detrimental variance to performance. These experiments involve pre-trained LLMs and diverse transformer execution strategies, evaluating their effects on model performance across different benchmarks for both decoder-only, llama, and encoder-only, BERT, models. Our experiments primarily focus on two transformer models, Llama 2 and BERT Large. Llama 2 is decoder-only, with Llama 2 to 7b being our main focus due to its 7 billion parameters and 32 layers. We also explore scaling experiments with the 13b and 70b models. On the other hand, BERT is encoder only with 24 layers and 340 million parameters. We utilize standard pre-trained checkpoints for these models and ensure that the models remain unchanged throughout the experiments, except for the BERT evaluation, which includes a standard fine-tuning step. For evaluation, we employ standard benchmarks tailored for decoder-only LLMs, Llama 2, and encoder-only LLMs, BERT. The benchmarks cover a range of tasks such as science exam questions, common sense reasoning, math word problems, Winograd schema challenge, and word prediction. We normalize the benchmark results to compare them against random guessing and the full model's performance. Additionally, we use tasks from the GLUE benchmark for BERT evaluation, following their protocol, which includes a fine-tuning step. We also present results from an evaluation where the model's head can adapt while keeping the model frozen. The experiments were initially inspired by the idea of merging multiple layers into a single, potentially larger layer. We hypothesized that due to the use of residual connections, the middle layers of a neural network might share a common representation space, unlike standard multi-layer perceptrons. This shared representation space could have implications for conditional computation or integrating new knowledge into pre-trained transformer models. Section Summary. In this section, we explore the challenges posed by the large scale of transformer-based large language models, LLMs, and the difficulty in understanding their behavior post-training due to the billions of parameters involved. We introduce an analogy likening the middle layers of a transformer to an assembly line of painters, where each layer adds strokes to the canvas input before passing it along, and we conduct experiments to investigate various hypotheses regarding the layer's representation space, necessity, function, order, parallelization, and impact on different tasks. Section: Do layers speak the same language? In this section, we investigate whether different layers in transformers share a common representation space. We conduct experiments to see if skipping specific layers or changing the order of neighboring layers affects the model's performance. For instance, in Llama 2 to 7b, we test if layer 6 can still function properly if it receives the output from layer 4 instead of layer 5. Our findings indicate that, except for the first and last few layers, the layers in Llama 2 to 7b are quite resilient to skipping or rearranging layers. We also measure the similarity between the hidden states of different layers in our models, Llama 2 to 7b, Llama 2 to 13b, and BERT large, across various tasks. The results show that the middle layers share a common representation space distinct from the outer layers. Additionally, we observe distinct similarity groups within the layers, suggesting separate representation spaces for the beginning, middle, and ending layers. Furthermore, we explore whether all layers are essential by skipping certain layers in our experiments. The results demonstrate that skipping a few middle layers does not lead to catastrophic failure, indicating that not all layers are necessary for the model's performance. Lastly, we investigate if the middle layers perform similar functions due to sharing a common representation space. By replacing the weights of middle layers with those of the center layer multiple times, we find that this significantly degrades performance, suggesting that the middle layers are not redundant and likely perform different functions. Section Summary. In this section, we investigate whether different layers in transformers share a common representation space by testing their robustness to skipping or switching layers. Our experiments suggest that middle layers share a representation space distinct from the outer layers. Furthermore, replacing weights among middle layers leads to catastrophic performance degradation, indicating that these layers are not redundant and perform different functions. Section. Does the layer order matter? In this section, we explored whether the order of layers matters in our model. We conducted experiments where we reversed the order of middle layers and ran them in random order. Both methods showed graceful degradation, indicating that the layer order does have some impact. Interestingly, running the layers in random order performed better than reversing the order. We also investigated if running the layers independently in parallel and then merging their results could be effective. This approach showed graceful degradation for most benchmarks, except for math-heavy tasks. Running the layers in parallel outperformed skipping layers but did worse than running them in reverse order. We observed that tasks involving abstract or mathematical reasoning were more sensitive to layer order compared to semantic tasks. This suggests that reasoning tasks require both structural and semantic understanding, making them more order-dependent. Furthermore, we explored the concept of looping parallelized layers to improve performance. Iterating the parallelized layer multiple times significantly enhanced performance, with the optimal number of iterations being proportional to the number of parallelized layers. In conclusion, the order of layers does matter to some extent, with mathematical and reasoning tasks being more order-dependent than semantic tasks. Looping parallelized layers can improve performance, with the optimal number of iterations scaling with the number of parallelized layers. Section Summary. In this section, we explore the impact of layer order in neural networks. We find that reversing or randomizing the order of middle layers leads to graceful degradation in performance, with random order outperforming reverse order. For tasks involving abstract or mathematical reasoning, layer order appears to be more crucial compared to semantic tasks, suggesting that some tasks are more sensitive to layer order than others. Additionally, looping parallelized layers multiple times can significantly improve performance, with the optimal number of iterations being roughly proportional to the number of parallelized layers. Section. Which variants are least harmful? In this section, we analyzed different variants of transformer layers in our experiments. We compared these variants in a plot, showing the performance over various benchmarks. We found that repeating a single layer is the worst variant, while randomizing the layer order and looped parallel have the least negative impact. These experiments demonstrated graceful degradation, but we are still curious about why the layers are resilient to most perturbations. We provided some suggestions in the discussion section but left a detailed explanation for future research. Previous studies mainly focused on optimizing the combination of multi-head attention, MHA, and feed-forward network, FFN, within transformer layers. Our work offers a new perspective by exploring parallelization and layer reuse. It was shown that pruning entire transformer layers can reduce latency without significantly affecting performance. Notably, the initial transformer layers are crucial for performance, as removing them leads to a substantial drop in performance. This implies that many layers may contain redundant information, as observed in prior studies. While some differences exist in observations, it was noted that removing individual modules within transformer layers can impact downstream task accuracy differently based on the model size. Pruning models can lead to performance degradation in specific tasks, indicating that some information in these layers is essential for critical tasks. Our experiments align with previous findings, highlighting the potential for leveraging redundant information in transformer models for sparsity. We explored various aspects raised by the layers as Painter's analogy, revealing insights such as the presence of distinct layer classes and the importance of execution order for different types of tasks. One hypothesis suggests that residual connections play a vital role in enabling layers to share a common representation. Future work may involve investigating models without residual connections to understand their impact on performance. Additionally, fine-tuning models with the new architecture could potentially enhance performance further. Our study aims to enhance understanding of transformer layers in language models rather than introducing new models. The results suggest simple methods to trade accuracy for latency gains, such as utilizing a routing mechanism for executing frozen layers. This approach could lead to improved efficiency in transformer-based models.